This is the Next Bite of Life podcast, the place to be to hear personal stories from expats, digital nomads, and everybody else taking their next bite of life. Thank you for joining me on this Next Bite of Life podcast. My name is Kem Kem, and this week's guest is Renee. Renee Dent. Say hello to everyone, Renee.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. I know it was sort of last minute, and I'm glad you were able to accommodate me. And it's wonderful that you're here because I think you have a very interesting story that will resonate with a whole lot of people. So let's start off with where are you right now, Renee?
Sure, sure. First, let me just say thank you, Kem Kem, for inviting me. I'm just um, so excited to share my story, and I'm just happy to be here. I'm actually in Dubai. I work at a school in Sharjah, and my son and I have been here since 2014.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so we're here now, and just it's a great country. It's beautiful. We love it. Um,
It's so funny.
mhm.
Dubai is always, sorry, I didn't mean to
No, no.
interrupt you. I was just going to say Dubai seems to be a very popular place, a very popular destination. And so, I know that a lot of people want to go there and experience it, either to teach, to work, to live. Now you're working there, right?
Yes, yes, I work here. It is fascinating. And the thing is that when you first sort of think about the Middle East and United Arab Emirates, you just have all of these notions of, being subdued, or you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that. But honestly, once you come here and start living your life here, it's just honestly amazing. Your whole mind just opens up, and you really see just how so many nationalities have come in this one place. Because I think now, I mean, my statistics might be wrong, but it's like there's more expats here than there are actually Emirati citizens, that we just,
No, that's actually true.
yeah, yeah. And just to be amongst all of these different nationalities, and all of the different cultures, and all of the different values, and even just the accents that you get around and you listen to, it's honestly fascinating. And I could see why people stay here for 10, 15 years. We're going on 8 now, my son and I, and it doesn't
Wow.
feel like that at all. Like it's an amazing place, and you meet so many beautiful, beautiful people. And the drawback to that is that people will come into your life and then they'll
Hmm.
go. But
Yes.
the advantage of that is that you learn so much from them, and you gain this piece of what their world is like and their culture, and you make that a part of you. And then you now all of a sudden you're just more worldly, and you're just able to connect more with people. And the great thing about that is that sometimes you'll actually see them in an airport. Not now,
Oh.
not now because of COVID, darn you COVID. but
Yeah,
but you'll
exactly.
actually see people. Like one time, Isaiah and I, my 17-year-old and I, were in the airport, and we were just in line. We were on our way to, gosh, I want to say Sri Lanka. It's so sad that I don't
Yeah.
even know where. And we saw one
The
of his
world
teachers.
traveler that you
Yeah.
are.
And then we were in the queue, and then we turned around, and then it was my son's fourth grade teacher, and they were on their way to
Oh,
Prague.
wow.
So it was
Oh,
just,
wow. It's a small
it's
world,
a small
especially when it comes
world.
to traveling,
Yeah,
right?
once you start traveling in these expat circles, it definitely becomes a
Yes.
small world, but a beautiful world, So,
My one of my older sisters, my whole family loves Dubai, and they just love visiting. This is their idea of a vacation. Where do you want to go? It's either Dubai or Oman. That's it. It's like there are other places in the world. It's like we don't care. We want to go to Dubai.
yeah.
We'll go back again and again. And so one of my older sisters was telling me, I come from a huge family, and everybody has like. Let's say you're 15. There's always somebody else, like a cousin or whatever, that
Yeah. Yeah.
also has a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
So she was at the airport, and she's like, I look back and it's my first cousin, one of them anyway. And she's like, 2 days older than him, but she had like really heavy luggage. And because she was 2 days older than him, she made him carry her luggage all
Oh,
the
that
way
oh, that's
to her gate
funny.
because so just like it's a small
It
world.
is
And
a
we didn't
small
even know they were
world.
going to be in Dubai at the same time.
Oh, that's
And so
funny. That's
but
really
it seems to
funny.
be like a really happening place.
It
I've only
is.
been there once, but I wasn't really, I stayed a week and I liked it well enough.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. It's one of the experiences that I haven't really talked about much
Yeah.
because it was right after my mom's funeral. So me and my brother just went to get away. So we weren't really doing like,
Mm,
oh my God,
right.
impossible things.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear
But
about
let's
your
get,
mom. Yeah,
she was old. She was 90. So she had a great life.
that is a great life. There's so much to do here, like, and the thing is that, um, y you won't have enough time, like, you would
Yeah.
there's so many amazing places and, there's 7 Emirates to visit,
Yeah.
like, you can't Dubai is just one, of course,
Yes.
that's the biggie, I suppose, but then there's Abu Dhabi, which is
Hmm.
just as, fascinating as well, so it's just nice. But the thing I would say to anybody who wants to come, just do not come in May, June, July,
It's hot.
and maybe even August. It's so hot, like 40 to 50 degrees Celsius.
Wow.
And also, you have to recall that it will be Ramadan.
Oh
And when it's
yeah.
Ramadan, then things are
Yeah.
closed, from sun up to sundown. But after sundown, then the whole world changes. But you won't have any activities and things, during Ramadan, and that's a whole month.
Yeah. So
But yeah,
you
definitely
don't want to be there then.
no, not really because you'll be limited. I
Yeah.
mean, you can still do things, but it won't happen till after
Okay.
7, which is when they have their iftar.
Okay.
So then the whole world will change and everything will light up and it'll be great. But then by 7 a.m. the next morning,
It's back
stop
to
again.
aha.
Back to it. Yeah,
Now, so
yeah,
you've adjusted over the years. Now, this is one question I always
yeah.
wonder about. I know that you can't have alcohol out on the street or whatever it
That's
is.
right.
It's very strict. How do you manage
That's
to
right.
keep stock of your alcohol stash?
Well, well, I'm not really a drinker, but
Okay.
I do have some Merlot,
Hmm.
say on my birthday or something. But one of my strategies is that whenever I'm coming through the Dubai airport,
Hmm.
I just stop at the duty free and then I grab one.
Okay.
But even then, that's a bit against the law because Sharjah is a very conservative emirate.
Hmm.
So technically, if I'm going from Dubai airport to Sharjah, which is about 20 minutes,
Hmm.
if I happen to be stopped, I could actually be in trouble for that because you're
Oh,
not to
wow.
have alcohol like on your person that way. But they do have alcohol shops that are for people who can drink or
Yeah.
like non-Muslims
Yeah.
kind of thing. And then it will be like there's one in Ajman. So there's like a little alcohol shop. And the funny thing is like you have to know where it is. You have to know the
Yeah.
right people to talk to, and then they'll tell you it's like this little shop
It's
in
like,
between.
psst.
You know, it's like shh, it's like a little shop in between a hotel and a petrol station, and
Wow.
you would never know that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm being funny, but it's true. And then
Wow.
you go there, and like I remember we went after when Ramadan was finished, actually, and now it was the beginning of Eid. So my friend and I went to go get one, and the queue was outrageous. It was just wrapped all around, wrapped all around. But I'll tell you what happened. It was really, really funny. So I go in the queue. There's all these people, and I go in the queue, and then the security guard walks all the way back to me, and he motions to me. He's like, "Come, come." And I was like thinking, "Oh gosh, what did I do?" And he's like, "Come." And he's like, "You can go in the front," because I
Exactly.
was a woman.
Yeah, I was
So
just
I
gonna
got to
say, yeah.
bypass yeah, I bypassed the whole thing, and it was just I just had fun doing that, and I walked past all the people, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going in."
Yeah, it's like you should have asked me to get you stuff.
It was really funny, and that was my first experience actually being in an alcohol shop, and then when I went there, I felt like I was in, like, Walmart in the States or something because I was like, "Oh, all
Confronted with
this
all this.
alcohol." Yes, it was like beer and alcohol
Wow.
from every country, wine from every country. It was a fascinating thing, and I wasn't even there. I was just accompanying my friend.
Mhm.
But there's wines from Australia, wines from France, wines from South Africa, just
Wow.
for days and all the way to the ceiling. And it was a really fun day.
That's great. Now, did you have to have a special license to get it, or you could just
No,
go
no,
in and
you
buy
don't.
it?
No, you can just go in and buy
Oh,
it.
that's
You can
good to
just go in
know.
and buy it.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
I always thought that you needed a
But I'll
special
tell you, in
license.
Yeah, well, in Dubai, like alcohol is readily available for like in hotels
Uh-huh.
and like all the say the like clubs
Yes.
in the hotels
Okay.
or the sorry the the restaurants in hotels, they will always have alcohol. I'm actually staying in a hotel in Dubai right now, and there's alcohol on the menu, so you can order it.
Oh, cool.
And then at brunches, if you know anything about Dubai, you
Oh,
know that
yeah.
the Friday, yeah, the Friday brunches are like the thing, and alcohol just is like it's like bottomless. It just comes and comes and comes.
It's
So that's for the brunches at any hotel or wherever there's a brunch in Dubai. There will always be alcohol.
I think I need to go back
Mm,
then just to do a Friday
yes,
brunch. I'd miss one
exactly.
of those. Like,
Exactly. But as far as like say, like in the States, how you can go to like a Circle K and then go in the cooler and there'll be a beer there. That is not they
they
don't
don't
have
have
that. Like
that.
there's, yeah, not at all.
Oh,
Not at
okay.
all. You can't buy it on the street. It can be in a club or like a restaurant or in a hotel. But those are the
Yeah.
few places. And like I said, the airport is always a go-to.
Yeah. Now
So,
let me take you back to the
yes,
U.S.
sure. Mm.
Which part of the U.S. Did you live?
Uh,
Where were you?
That's a really funny question. My father was in the military. He was in the Air Force for over 20 years.
Okay.
And so he's a retired officer from the military. And I actually lived in so many states. I lived in Georgia, in Atlanta. I lived in Florida. I think I spent a bit of time when I was a baby in California. When I was in high school, I did my high school time in Montana.
Okay.
I also lived in Michigan when I was about 7, and there's a couple other places. Oh, I'm naming all the places. And then I lived in Arizona because my parents lived there.
Ah.
I'm so sorry. I actually, oh my soul, like Arizona. Yeah, this is where my father, after he
Retired.
retired, yeah, he chose Arizona as his place of retirement. So yes, and Arizona is where I went to college. You wouldn't know that by this conversation.
so so when you were there, you were, obviously
Hmm.
growing up in that kind of environment, you already had
Hmm.
your lifestyle, it was predetermined that you would have the urge to travel, right, and keep traveling and seeing the
Absolutely.
world.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, my mother's from the Philippines and actually was born in China. So I was born
ah,
in Taiwan.
wow.
And so definitely I think it was in my DNA
Yes.
that I would travel. And I lived, in the Philippines 2 different times. And English was actually my third language. I spoke
Wow.
Ilocano, which was my mother's dialect
Well,
first.
you fooled
And then I
me.
spoke Tagalog. Yeah, Ilocano fluently, and then Tagalog, which is the national language, but Ilocano, like there's so many dialects there. But my mom is from Lupao, Nueva Ecija, and so I spoke her language because my grandmother, didn't speak English. Um, so then I learned English, and then we moved to the States. And when one of the times we moved to the States, and my mother, honestly, just stopped speaking Tagalog to me, and she only spoke English, and so I lost it. But I understand it now.
Hmm.
I just can't speak it as fluently anymore. I can, like in my school, all of our teachers' assistants all speak Tagalog, and I understand everything they say.
Well, I could teach you a dirty word, I mean, a dirty sentence in Tagalog. When I was working as a pharmacist, my partner was Filipino, so he
Oh,
always he always taught us the dirty word. So whenever I meet somebody
yeah,
Filipino, I say to them, I don't want to repeat it because it's X-rated. Then I would have to
exactly.
do an X-rated thing on this Apple podcast because it's for
Yeah,
family.
know some naughty words as
Yeah.
well in Tagalog that are like they make my face blush when I say them. So I'm like,
Exactly. So you were like, I gotta get out of here. So when did you leave the US? And no, more importantly, I know you have a story to tell about
I
why you
do.
had to leave the US. So please enlighten us. And
Oh,
like I said, you
yeah.
can tell us as much as you want or as little as you want because I
Oh,
know it was
well,
a traumatic experience.
it was traumatic, and at the time I thought this would like define my life and just, define who I was, but as time has passed, there have been so many other things that have just transcended that.
Mhm.
And so my definition of trauma now is so different. Like my perspective is has changed so dramatically. But actually what happened was I was teaching in Florida. So I was in Fort Pierce, Florida, and I was teaching there, and I don't even know how to describe it, but I cross paths, just cross paths with a person who ended up being. I didn't know this at the time because you don't know things.
Exactly.
You just don't know unless you research and do your due diligence and all of this. But he was a convicted felon, and he proceeded to be just. I'll try to make it succinct because it was such a long, drawn out story. And
Hmm.
I remember my son telling me, "Mom, this is like a movie. You need
Yeah.
to get out of there." And that's what it felt like. It felt like a movie. But he was very dangerous. And I remember I had an advocate when we went to trial, and she said to me, Renee, his crimes are growing in fervor, and his uh, how do I say it,
More
in what
dangerous.
in what he's willing to do, yeah, in what he's willing to do. And by the time he reached me, he was able to then target a woman with a child, because before
Mm.
then it had been just women.
Yeah.
But now it was she's oh, I know the word I was looking for, escalated.
Okay.
It had escalated to women with children. And my son at the time was, oh my soul, he was only, I want to say 7 or 8, so very young. And one of the crimes, and he had just like a laundry list. And I found this out when we went to court, because there was a trial and everything. But he had actually broken into a woman's house with another partner of his, and he duct taped her mouth and held a loaded gun to her head.
Oh my
Like
God.
he held a loaded gun to her head, so she could have died. And I remember that it was very dangerous. I He was already arrested,
Yeah.
and he was in jail. And one day I came out from my work, and my tires were slashed. So it was just a very surreal experience. I didn't understand what was happening, and it was just terrible. And I just remember just so many little incidents started happening. And the advocate said to me, and I had a life in Florida.
Yeah.
I had finally come to a place where I lived in a gated community, and it was beautiful, and I lived really near my school. I absolutely loved my class. And then she said, Renee, she's like, you have to leave.
Yeah.
And I remember saying, leave
It's like,
where? And
why
she said,
should
you have
I
to leave.
leave? Yeah.
Yeah. And she said, you have to leave Florida. And I was like, there is no.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not leaving Florida. This is where I know. And plus, my Filipino side of my family, I had reconnected to the Filipino side of my family,
Yeah.
and I was by my cousin, and it was no. But just more and more things started happening that she was like, no, 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 you and your son's life are in danger. And so she actually told me, she said, you have two choices. She said, you can leave the state. She said, or you're going to go into a shelter.
Yeah.
And then I had visions of my son being in a shelter and being so young and seeing all that around him. And I said, no, I can't do it. So um, she said, and like the state of Florida or whatever her connections were, they got our truck for us to move our
Hmm.
things. And I said, okay, if you're going to make me move, I said, I'm having one last thing in Florida. And I remember uh, it was almost Christmas, and I packed the car with my little son, and we went to the Keys.
Hmm.
I drove down to the Keys, which is like, the end of the road
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Literally, there's no more marker after that. It's just Cuba, right?
Yeah.
And I remember getting a resort, and I just went to the ocean, and just, I said, okay, God, I said, well, my life is in your hands, and just take care of us. And so I drove then from Florida to Arizona, which is like a, I don't know, 26, 27 hour trip. I drove it
Yeah.
while the truck was taking our stuff, and we went to Arizona. And when I got to Arizona, it was now December. There was no jobs.
Hmm.
um, it was really hard to find a job. And I remember I went to like a, gosh, what's it called? It's that Head Start.
Yeah.
I went to Head Start, and I remember the person said to me, you're overqualified for this position. And I said, I really need a job,
Yes.
so I'll just take it. And he's like, you're overqualified, I'm telling you. And I said, that's okay, I'll take the job.
Hmm.
And as I was working the job, everybody started telling me, Renee, just leave the country.
Yeah.
Just leave. Just go overseas. And I was like, what? And they were like, yes, just go overseas. So I went to a sort of a recruitment agency,
Yeah.
Teach Anywhere. And I remember the recruiter said to me, I need to know, Renee, where you're willing to go. And I said, anywhere. And he was like, if you say any, I remember his words precisely. He said, if you say anywhere, I can send you anywhere. And I said, do it. And he's like, okay, let's see if the stars align. And I kid you not, the within 2 or 3 days, he said, I have an interview for you in Kyrgyzstan. And I was like, excuse me?
What a stand!
I said, what is that? Yeah, exactly. And then I said, and then I told him, this is how daft I was. I said, I think you mean Kazakhstan. And he said, no, I mean Kyrgyzstan. And I was like, okay. And I was like, I knew nothing. Like when I say to you, I knew nothing, I mean, I knew, I said, is it cold there? And he said, yes,
Yeah.
Siberian cold. And I was like, okay. He goes, do you want the interview? And I said, yes. I did the interview, and right hand to God, I did the interview the Saturday night before Easter Sunday.
Mhm.
And on Sunday morning, when I opened my email, it said, congratulations, welcome to the team. Look for your air tickets within the next 2 days. And by Wednesday of that week, I'm not lying, by Wednesday of that week, my son and I were on a plane flying to a country I didn't
I
research.
was just about to
I
say,
didn't
did
know.
you at least look
Yep.
it up on the map? No.
Well, that's what he said. That's what the recruiter said. He said, he goes, "Do you have a map?" And I said, "I have a globe." He's like, "Get the globe." And I got the globe, and he goes, "Find China," and he's like, "Find Russia,"
Oh.
and he's like, "It's on the border of China and Russia." And I was like, "That little country?" I was like, okay. But I did know that we were going to be okay, because my faith in God is very strong.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, just, we're not safe in America. So,
Yes,
Kyrgyzstan has got to be safer. I was like, I
exactly.
won't have a stalker there after me
Yeah.
in Kyrgyzstan, right? So that's what I was thinking. And I'll tell you something really funny. So this is it was like Phoenix to Chicago, Chicago to Bishkek, and just all this fly. No, we stopped in Istanbul. Sorry, it was like 4 flights, and
Wow.
then when we were touching down in Bishkek, the first thing I saw was a big, huge plane, and it said United States Air Force,
Ah,
and I was like, okay, and I just like, it'll be okay.
yes.
There's a military Air Force plane
I
there.
know.
And I was like, we'll be okay. We'll be
You
okay.
can
And
find one person that speaks English, at least one, right?
absolutely, absolutely. Well, at the time, this was in 2012.
Mhm.
So this was in April of 2012. Um, the ambassador of Kyrgyzstan was an African American woman,
Oh,
and we went to like a dance or a ball
mhm.
somewhere by the U.S. Embassy, and I danced next to her with my son, which is
Cool.
really a fun memory. Yeah, and she's like, "Are you?" She's like, "Are you having fun?" And they were like serving hot dogs and
Oh,
hamburgers, like very
yeah.
American. And I was like, sure. And I said, I'm dancing with an ambassador of Kyrgyzstan. So yeah, I think I'm
Oh,
okay.
yeah. So life was good there, eh?
Life is that's a third world country, but I tell you, salt of the earth people, amazing people, beautiful. We stayed there for 2 years,
Okay.
and it's just, I think I could have stayed more, but it's just so Siberian cold. It's
Yeah.
literally so cold there. I could not handle the winters,
Mhm.
but but the people are gorgeous. The country is stunning because nobody really knows about it. So the nature is untouched. They have gorgeous mountains and camping and amazing.
Wow.
We went to one mountain one day, and I swear I thought we were in The Sound of Music. Like, it was just amazing. But when my assignment finished there, one of my friends that I had met actually from New Zealand, called Frances, she was like, I have a job thing for Dubai, for the UAE. And she's like, are you interested? And I was like, yeah, send it through. And that's how I got the job for the UAE. So I went from Kyrgyzstan
Very
to
cold
Dubai, and
to Dubai.
polar
Very
opposites.
hot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and polar opposites in the wealth. Like, we went from like poverty, poor, sort of,
That's true.
um, but just you know all the way to opulence that you can't imagine. Like, the Burj Al Arab is a 7-star hotel, and there's only one in the world. So to have these two sort of polar opposites is just, um, it's it makes you appreciate everything.
Yeah.
That's what I will say about that. Yeah.
How is the teaching life in Dubai? Do you enjoy it still after all these years?
I love it. Yeah, I'm going into my 20th year.
Okay.
I think this is my 20th or 21st year, and I absolutely love it. When I was in Bishkek, that's the capital there of Kyrgyzstan, I taught a British curriculum.
Okay.
And then in the States, obviously, I had the American curriculum, and the curriculum I work with now is Australian.
Ah,
So I absolutely love it. The families that I work with are amazing, and the children are just beautiful. And a 5-year-old is a 5-year-old is a 5-year-old anywhere in the world.
yeah.
There's they're still the same. It's still like, he beat me, or
So they're
he
still
took my
moldable.
pencil. Yeah, but they're all the same as far as that's concerned. And but the teaching is I love it. I honestly do, and I can't see going back to the States
Yeah.
after what I've experienced here and how we're treated.
Yeah.
We are treated like doctors and lawyers.
That's great.
Honestly,
Yeah.
the parents, they view us as somebody with a real job,
Yes.
and we're compensated for it, not just in payment wise,
Mhm.
but we're compensated by respect
Yes.
and you know, uh,
Which is quite
kindness.
different, quite different than in
Oh,
the States. I
absolutely,
have friends that
absolutely.
they're like, no, never again. And even the ones like
Mm,
when I lived in LA, I had an ex-boyfriend who was a teacher and he had horror stories. I mean, he used to like just hate going to school. I mean, much as kids hate going to school, the teachers hated
mm,
going to school more, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
It's terrible, you know? So
Well,
so
and the thing is that you work such long hours, and the people who are mandating what you are to do or to teach, they've actually never been teachers. So
yes.
it makes it really difficult to sort of have a respect for that field group. It's like you're telling me what to do when you
Yeah,
have never
no.
stood in front of 25 children,
Yeah.
because teaching 25 children is juggling so many balls in the air, but we
Mhm.
do it. Like we do it because we that's what we do.
Yeah.
But for someone who's not even in that field, and you're just telling us do this, do this, do this, it makes it very, very hard. But over here, I have to say, in my school, we have a say in how we can not only execute the curriculum, but just we have a say in what should be taught and what's important and how to do the assessments. It's very different from the States. I mean, I can't even describe it. In the States, I remember having to teach the children how to color in those bubbles
Mhm.
on a test, a paper test. Yeah, coloring bubbles. This is very.
Basic.
It's just regurgitated information. And here, you can have them do it like orally, or do it with a task in front of you, with manipulative. So it's very different, and in that, it makes teaching enjoyable.
Yeah.
And you can't be in a career that you don't love. And I every day I love it. Every day I wake up, I love it.
So
So that's what makes it fun.
so
Yeah.
you would advise anybody who's a teacher who wants to experience something outside of the US, you would totally recommend Dubai or Kyrgyzstan
Oh,
or yeah.
absolutely. And I have. Every person I ever talk to who's like a teacher, and they're like, "Oh, what's it like?" And then I rave about it. And I'm like, "You should try it." "Oh, I don't know if I could leave the
See,
States." I'm just
exactly.
like, "You." I was like, "But you can."
Yeah, exactly.
But
Fear
you
is
can.
such a driving factor
Yeah,
with people now because they have no idea what is outside of the country. And
that's
once
right.
they leave
And the
and they
thing is,
see it, oh,
yes, and you have to be open-minded. Now,
mm-hmm.
granted, my military sort of upbringing, gave me a bit of a head start, but that, every person who's a expat teacher didn't have a military background.
Yeah,
You just have to have an open mind
yes,
and be willing to embrace change, and you have to understand that your way, or, the American way that you've become accustomed to, that is not the only way. There are
exactly.
so many more ways. And I'll tell you, I learned more about America leaving it than I ever did living in it, you
It's
know?
true. No, it's true.
I was like, "Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Oh, and I didn't know that."
yeah,
But you have to leave your country to learn more about it. It's like that's that weird sort of, phenomenon
yes.
of
No,
of
it's
leaving.
true.
But
It's very
it
true.
is fear. You have to. I did have fear. I'll tell you, when my fear was palpable when we were flying over Istanbul.
Hmm.
We were about to land to Istanbul,
Hmm.
and I looked down, and everything looked different, and just the houses and everything. Oh my gosh! And I had like a palpable fear in my veins, and I was just like, "What have I done?" Because you know I decided to leave the country in a space of
So
72 hours.
yeah.
And then in the moment, came in the plane out, and I was like, what have I done? What am I doing to my son? What am I doing to my life? What is going to happen to us? And then somehow just a calm came over me, and I was like, you know what? I just give this all to God and
Yes.
just I have this unwavering faith that everything will be okay. And it has been, it has been.
And
So
Istanbul is
how
my
can
top three, one of my top three cities ever
Oh
in the
yeah,
world. I love it there. So
Istanbul is it's amazing, isn't it? It's
yes,
amazing.
yes, I would
It
totally.
is.
We were like, oh, we could definitely live here.
Yes.
We have places that we both agree unanimously that we could live there, and Istanbul is one, like without
Yeah,
a doubt.
yeah.
And I
And
think,
isn't that's that place where you can be in Europe and Asia at the
yep,
same time? It's that
that's
bridge?
the one. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Oh, it's
Which is,
beautiful.
that's fascinating in and of itself. Like, you're on a bridge that connects 2
Yes.
continents. Like, really?
I know.
That's so
We got to the
cool.
other side. I'm like, look, I'm in Asia. It was my first time in Asia. Woo,
Yeah,
No, it's great.
it's
But
fun.
fear,
Yeah.
fear holds so many back. And that was one
Mhm.
of the reasons that I
Yeah.
started doing I took up the podcast again after a few years of break, because I get so many questions on the blog. I want to do it. How can I do it? Da, da,
Yeah.
da. I'm so scared. And it's like, I
Yeah.
go, I want to talk to
Just do it.
women, men, anybody who's
Yeah.
like brave enough to leave and go.
Yep.
I want to discover what's there and see it
That's
and
right.
see that it's not like the steady diet of fear that we've been, choking on for the past few years is not where it's at.
Absolutely.
You're just worried for nothing. And then you go, it's like,
Exactly.
oh, I see. And like you said, you can now
Mhm.
look back and look at what you were, you can
Yeah.
now look at America or wherever you came from with a different set of eyes because now you know better.
Absolutely.
Now,
And now, and especially now with America being in the turmoil that it is, the absolute turmoil that
yes.
it's in, I mean, you must sort of ask yourself, like, can it be worse?
Yes.
What if I go to another country, couldn't it be worse than this? Will the next country I go to be worse than this? And honestly, not to be like Nike, but
Yeah.
just do it.
Yeah.
Like, you just jump.
And
You
chances
just
are it
jump off
will
that
not
cliff.
be. Right?
Right. You honestly, the people, I would say to people who, have a fear like, "Oh, what about this? What about this?" You know, yeah, ask yourself that question, "What about this and what about this?" But for the new country,
Yes.
be like, "What about this? What will this be like? What will this be like?" Just approach it with sort of an enthusiasm and just a curiosity. And I I swear, you will find so much joy in it. And then here's the bottom line. If you get to another country and you don't like it, then go back,
Yes.
but at least
That's
try.
what I
Do you
do.
know what I mean? Make your plane a round trip ticket, go back and say, "Hey, I tried it," but at least try, because if you stay in the States and you just live in that little part of
Yeah.
that, and the world is so much bigger than America. Oh
Yes.
my soul.
Yes.
So much bigger than America. There's so much more to do,
Yeah.
so much more to, so many more people to meet, so many more
Yeah.
experiences to have. And whilst America, I think, is, there's a vast diversity there.
Hmm.
You could be in the redwoods in
Yes.
California all the way to the Keys of Florida. It's a beautiful country, but it is not all there is.
But
Honestly,
but I don't even
it's not
think,
all there is.
and I don't think we're always telling you you need to leave and go live somewhere else. We're just saying you need
Yeah,
to go see what's available, or every place else, and see,
right.
just enjoy a different way of life, be it for 2 weeks,
Absolutely.
3 weeks, a month. Just, take your passport
Mhm.
and go explore the world. Then if you
Yeah.
say, oh my God, I want to see this, then you can always make plans. But we're not saying everybody needs to move out of the US or everybody can
Right.
afford to move out
Right.
of the US. What we're saying is travel really does broaden your mind and
It
makes you
really
things that
does.
makes you see things that you don't normally see. Now, Renee, let me
And
ask
it
you.
also makes you a kinder person to other
Oh,
people,
for
because
sure.
when you're in America, by and large, you're by Americans.
Yes.
Okay, of course, there's a melting pot and,
Yeah.
all sorts of other cultures there. But no, 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 no. Not like when you're in Sri Lanka and you're playing with a little boy who
Yes.
has no shoes on
Yes.
his feet.
Yes.
Okay, it makes you a kinder person. When you're looking at an Emirati who, I don't know, owns 3 banks,
Yeah.
do you know what I'm saying? You
Yes.
have that balance, and you learn that they're people just like you. They
Yes.
just, drive better cars.
Yes.
But the thing is that it just makes you look at people so differently, and you don't think, you don't have just one story to tell.
Yes.
You have so many stories, and you bring all of this to who you are. It just is better for humanity. Like, honestly, I think it should be a requirement. Like, in
Yes.
college, your freshman year, you should be
Travel,
required to go
a lot
abroad
of British
for a
people
month.
do it. Yeah, they do that gap year
Yes.
thing or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's a
Absolutely.
great thing, and it really, like, every morning, like after losing one of my sisters to breast cancer, I
Oh,
realized
I'm so
just
sorry.
how precious life is, and you hear it and you see it, but you get to
Mhm.
realize that everything you think is so important, like when you whine about, oh, they didn't have, my the wine that I wanted at the thing, and it's like, let me speak to the manager, and you complain about everything. You
Yes.
see, life
Yes.
is not that, nothing is that serious. And when you go to another place, you
Yes.
see a kid with no food, who hasn't eaten forever, who is poor, who's living on the side of the street, and you're worried about, like, you don't have
Mhm.
2020 outfit or whatever it is,
That's
realize
right. That's
how lucky
right.
you are, and it really makes you appreciate life more, and you don't whine as much. And
Mm.
I have to admit,
That's
I
right.
lose my patience a lot with people who don't get it, because they haven't really looked outside of their little bubble. And maybe you don't
That's
even need
right.
to travel.
Absolutely.
Maybe you need to watch like the world news instead of one TV station, and see what's happening all
Mhm.
over the world. You can get this information with the internet these days.
Mhm.
There's really no excuse for being so enclosed in your own mind, really.
That's right. And really, honestly, I'm sure I'm stealing from somebody. I can't remember off the top of my head, but the cure to racism. Honestly, the cure to racism and to prejudice is to travel,
Yes,
because if there is, well, love, I think, is a cure for. Let me say that first. You have to love, but if you even just go to any other country, you will see how differently they live, and their priorities are so different.
yes,
It's honestly, sometimes when I go to America, and when I it's not sometimes, it's actually every time I go to America for, like, we try to go once a year in the
hmm,
summer. I come as a tourist.
yes,
Like, my
yes,
mindset, I come as a tourist. I'm not like, I don't feel American when I go,
hmm,
because I've been so many other places.
yes,
It's a weird thing I can't explain. But when I go there, I feel like a tourist, and I watch everybody as a tourist, and
mm.
I think, wow,
Culture
this is
shock.
what's important to you. Yeah, it's like a reverse culture shock,
Yes,
and I'm like, gosh, this is what's important to you. Like, wow, that's really sad, because we've been so many places where, what's important to them is that they eat meals
yes,
together, or
exactly.
they, or they, I don't know, they take a walk in the nature. Like, when we
Hmm.
lived in Kyrgyzstan, we would get invited, and they would say to us, like, there was this one family from Eritrea, and they said, "We're going on a picnic today. Would you like to join us?" And that's literally what they would just come scoop us up,
Hmm.
because I didn't drive there, and we would go on a picnic in the mountains, and that's what we did. And then you come back to the States, and it's like, well, let's go shopping at the mall,
Yes.
let's get everything that's on sale,
Yes.
like, for that, what is this thing, this Black Friday,
Oh
let's
yeah.
hurry up and let's go get the toaster that's
Uh-huh.
$2. Like,
Yeah.
really? This is
Yeah.
important so you can have more stuff?
The
Why do you need more
consumerism.
stuff?
Uh-huh. I know.
Yeah, it's consumerism, and you really learn that. So, Kyrgyzstan was a great proving ground for us, a great experience place to really get our life in perspective and see what's important, because with the people that we met there, that's what would be important to them: meals, and sitting together, and sharing together, and just talking. And you see it in the Arabic culture as well. Like,
Hmm.
when you go to somebody's house, I've been, like, if I have a side job of tutoring, I'll go to their houses, and mind you, these are not houses, these are like mansions. Okay, these are like mansions. It's incredible, because how they build houses here is very fascinating. Like, they'll have all this land, and then they'll build the house exactly the same, like the same template of a house, but the mom stays in this house, the brother
Uh-huh.
stays in this one,
Uh-huh.
the sister stays in this one. So when you go in, there's a big huge gate, and
Yes.
then you'll see like a thing for like 10 cars. That's for their
Yeah.
drivers. Okay, that's the drivers. And you go into the houses. But so one time I just, needed to use the toilet,
Hmm.
right? And I just went exploring a little bit, and I was like, how, this is like the fourth living room I've seen. And what I can tell you is that the way it's set up, it's so different from America.
Yeah.
So inside, there's not much, like, say, on the walls in terms of like pictures and things like that. But what it is like couches all along the perimeter of the wall, these beautiful Arabic couches,
Yeah.
and then in between them, there will be like a stand for like a tea set.
Uh-huh.
And you can just, as soon as you walk in, this room is designed
Yeah.
for visiting,
Yes.
for chatting, for fellowship, for talking, for connecting to people.
Wow.
And there's not a television in there.
Yeah, I
I'm
know. I've
telling you, like,
heard.
there's no television, there's no radio,
Yeah.
there's no. Now, I'm sure that's in another room. I'm
Yeah.
not saying,
Oh, yeah.
they don't have those things, but it's just a culture thing, and it's just so beautiful. I just love it. And I just want to be like a fly on the wall one day
Yeah.
and be like, can I be in that house when it's filled with all the people? And I think the reason why they have so many rooms is because when it's like that, like all the men stay in one
Yes.
room and all the women stay in
Yes.
another
Uh-huh.
room, right?
Yeah.
So,
On the flip side of that, you go to America, you watch one of those house and garden shows or whatever, and you see,
mhm.
you come from the kitchen and then you see the formal dining room, and everybody's like, "Well, what are we going to do with this room? We don't use this room.
Yeah,
We only need just the
right.
living room." So they're thinking it's a home office, it's
Yeah,
something, it can't be like a place
yeah,
to have dinner with your family because that really never happens. They sit in front of the TV and it's like, mom does it, and
right.
so it's so weird. So we have to think outside
Yeah.
and see what it is. But it was Mark Twain, by the way, the saying on the travel
Yes.
is
Okay, thank you.
fatal to prejudice.
Yes, that's it, and that's what I was thinking. But shamefully, I have to say that my mom has a formal dining room, and do you know, we have never had one meal in her house in this dining room. So you can call me the pot calling the kettle black,
Exactly.
because my own mother, she has the most beautiful dining set, and I promise you, we've never had one meal there. You know where we sit? We sit in her
Of
kitchen.
course.
We sit in her kitchen, and she yes,
Well, for Filipino mothers, also the kitchen is very important. It's one
yes.
of the most
It's
important
the
rooms in the
hallmark.
house for
Yeah,
everybody,
it's the
basically. Yes,
hallmark of a Filipino
exactly.
mom. But her dining room is beautiful, but we've never sat in there, and, it might as well have just
Yeah.
been, taken out the day she bought it because she never used it. So funny.
Yeah, she's like, no, no, no. I'm surprised. Well,
Yeah.
at least she doesn't have the plastic on the chairs and everything, right? It's like,
Oh,
don't
that's
sit there, don't
funny.
touch it,
Well, that's funny, but my I
No.
have, 3 sons, and my oldest son's father's, his family, whenever I would go to their house, they had plastic on all the chairs as well, and but I just got used to that. It was just like, "Okay, yeah, it's just a thing. It's just a
Yeah,
thing," but I'm like,
exactly.
"It is
It
what
is
it
what it
is. Okay,
is,
so you have
right?
plastic on your couch. Okay."
Already, I know you just
Yeah.
mentioned your son, and I would love for you to be able to share
Yeah.
your very sad experience with somebody listening to this, because a lot of people have experienced the same
Yeah.
thing. And I will say once again that I think, this would make for a very good book to help others. But if you want to share that experience with us, we would love to hear it.
Oh.
If not, then we respect your
No, no,
privacy.
I relish any, opportunity to show my pride for my son. So, I have 3 sons. My oldest son, Markel, lives in New York. He's 32, and he has a wife and 3 children. So I'm a grandmother, actually, of 3 grandsons. And then my
Woohoo!
son, Isaiah, he's here with me in Dubai, and he'll be 17 actually in December. So, and then there's my middle son, and his name is Jarrell. Um, and actually, it's October now, and this is his anniversary month. So my son took his own life on somewhere around October 13th. We don't exactly know when, because actually that's a bit of a blur to me. But there are certain things you don't want to remember, and he took his own life, and it was in California, in San Diego. So when we got the phone call, we of course had to fly back, and it was a 17-hour flight, which is the most grueling flight ever of my life. And when we reached Los Angeles, we still had to get to San Diego, which was another, say, hour and a half. And we had a driver organized for that. And I remember telling him, my son, he's like, very cheerful and chipper and everything. And he's like, "Oh, welcome to the States. What are you doing here?" And I said, "My son is in ICU. I need you to get us to the hospital as soon as you can." And he was like, "I will, I will." I said, "Drive fast, but don't crash." And I remember we got to the emergency room sort of parking area there, and I remember the car was still moving. The car was still moving, and I jumped out, and I saw my mom just as a fleeting image there. She was waiting outside. I just ran past her, and I just ran into the hospital and like a frantic woman, and I got into the lift and I got to the ICU, and it's that uh, two big doors that swing out when you press the button on the side. And I remember he was in the room on the left, and when I laid eyes on him, he was connected with lots of tubes. He was on the oxygen machine, and they did that
Mm-hmm.
till I got there, because my son's godmother, my comadre Diana, she
Mm-hmm.
told the nurse, is it bad? And the nurse had told her, yes, it's bad. Tell her to come. And she said, we'll keep him here until his mother comes. And they did, which I'm very, very grateful for. But, with the flying and all the time that we had missed, it was too late. And so, they did within a few hours, they did a brain stem activity test, and they said that
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't here anymore. And so I remember the doctor saying to me, that I only had one decision left to make, and that would be is if he would be an organ donor or not. And that was it was an easy decision to make, but it was hard to do it, because you you have to sign your name, and there his name was on a paper, and there's like actual boxes to tick, like kidneys, lungs, heart,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I like physically could not manage the pen to sign my name, because I'm like, I'm his mother, so I will sign this paper, but
Yeah.
I don't want to do it. Like there were so many final moments, but that was one of the first, and it's a grueling ordeal. Um, Parents
Yeah.
are not supposed to bury their children. It's supposed to be
No.
children burying their parents, and so it's the most unnatural thing in the world. And I remember there was when the doctor said, because I signed the papers, and then this whole thing happens of them finding the matches, 5 different matches from as
Yeah.
close by as you can, because the organs are going to be
Yeah.
flown then, so it has to be people close by.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in a balance of knowing that my son is going to save people, but knowing that then we lose him,
Yes.
and that
Yeah.
there is no um, words that articulate what that feels like. I don't even know, and it happened to me. So I just know I'm living it, and just managing to go through. But the the uh, doctors came in and they said his organ transplant surgery will be tomorrow at 2. And I remember watching the clock, and I promise you, Kem, that the time never slipped so fast in all my life. Like, I've never seen sand go through an hourglass so fast in my whole life. And I just
Yeah.
remember going out of his room, and I went to the nurse's station, and I just was like, I was literally clawing the walls just to just make it stop.
Yeah.
And I said to the nurse, um, make it stop, just make it stop.
Yeah.
And she got me some water, and she just like held me. And I have to say, the nurses in San Diego were amazing to my son. Just for his last hours there, they were amazing humans. And he had his
Yeah.
surgery the next day. And I remember my mom, she didn't come in the room. She didn't want to see him this way, because, one of the
Of
places I lived, I
course.
don't know if I said, was Germany. And
Yeah.
my a week after my brother graduated from high school, he died in a car crash. So when, and his
Mm.
name is David. And when
Yeah.
my brother's funeral happened, I was pregnant and I didn't know it, so I had a miscarriage. But very soon after, um, I got pregnant again, and that was Jarrell. So that's why my son Jarrell is named after his uncle. So his name is Jarrell David. And my
Wow.
mother had already buried her son, at 18.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she didn't want to see Jarrell this way. And so she was in the garden,
Yeah.
because next to the hospital in San Diego is this like Haven House where you go when you're waiting. And she was in the garden, and she
Yeah.
said she heard the helicopter. And that was the helicopter with his organs flying them. And 9 months and one day to the day of that surgery, we met Dr. Ehrlich, who has my son's heart. He carries my son's heart, and that is an experience that is again surreal.
Hmm.
Um, to
Yeah.
listen to my son's heart inside of another man who happens to be a doctor was just one of the moments in my life that I just there. And I'm a word girl. I love words, and there's no word
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
It's
You're
I'm
wordless.
wordless. I'm wordless. But we couldn't take our whole family. We just could only have just some of our family there. But we all went, and it was really great to meet him. He's a very beautiful person, and it's no coincidence that he loves the ocean, because I love the ocean as well. And his
Yeah.
granddaughter told us at that meeting that I think it was like maybe 6 months or so after he got the, Jarrell's heart, that they sort of closed off the beach and he went surfing. And I just thought that was amazing,
Um,
because I love the ocean just as much, and I know that that was Jarrell, sending me a message that, yeah, definitely
yeah.
sending me a message. And on his first anniversary, on Jarrell's first anniversary,
Mhm.
Isaiah and I flew to Seychelles, and we were in the Indian
Yeah.
Ocean. And then on Instagram, we saw Dr. Ehrlich was in the Pacific Ocean surfing on his birthday.
Uh-huh.
So it was
Oh.
very,
So
it
everything,
was,
it's like
it
a
was a full
circle.
circle.
It comes
Yes, a
back
very
together.
full circle.
Yeah.
And just to know that he's in the ocean, I'm in the ocean, and all I can hope and pray for is that Jarrell, smiles from above at both of us, because I know that Jarrell, I
He's at
know
peace.
that Jarrell knows he broke my heart. He did. Um,
Yeah.
but and this is his way of like, I'm sorry, and, uh, but you'll be okay. And, I'm okay
Yeah.
now. So, you know, so many people have told me, you should probably write a book, and, on your thoughts and things like that. But
It's good
for
therapy. Yes.
therapy, and I will one day. And that's the ironic thing, was that, when we had to leave the States, in 2012, I was actually working on my doctorate. I literally had finished my doctoral coursework, and I was working on my dissertation. And I had finished like
Yeah.
half of chapter one of my dissertation. And my whole goal in life was to be Dr. Det, and not for the purpose of that, but just
Yeah.
to give to my parents, because, my mom and dad had
Mhm.
lost their son, and I just wanted to,
Yeah.
I'm the only one in my family who actually went to school. My other brother joined the military, but just to give it to my parents. That's all I wanted, was to be able to say,
Yeah.
you raised me so well, and I thank you so much. I just want to give this back to you. And so that that was the goal I was working on, was to get my doctorate. And then we had to leave. I was I
Yeah.
I didn't have, like, so I did have a choice. There's always a choice. We could have stayed, but I didn't want to stay in danger,
Yeah.
so we left. But
No.
I was in the middle of writing a book when my life changed, and now my life has changed again, and everybody's saying you should write this down. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what you know.
But you obviously have to do it on your own
Yeah,
timetable, everybody can tell you so many things, but it depends on what you're feeling inside. You may not have
right.
processed it yet. My dad's been dead 25 years, and it took me, I think, about 6 years to actually start talking of him as in dead. If anybody asked me, how's your dad, or how old is your dad, it was always in the present tense. I could not
That's right.
process it at all. So it took that long. So I
Yeah.
don't blame you if it takes you forever, because it's
Well, and
ongoing.
it's
You just can't
uncanny. It's
shut it
uncanny that
off.
you would say that, because just today, my son and I are here in the hotel, like I said, and then I said
Hmm.
something to Isaiah, and he said Jarrell would be proud, and I said to him, "Don't use past tense." I said that, and I said, "We don't use past tense
Yeah.
about your brother,"
Okay.
because
Yeah.
and I don't know if it'll change, but I never speak about
Yeah.
Jarrell in past tense. Like I don't. I say I love
Yeah.
him, I miss him. I don't. I
Yeah.
and a lot of
Yeah.
I've met so many bereaved parents, like so many bereaved parents, too many that I should have never met them, and they say, "Oh, I loved him so much," and it just stabs me in my heart, because I'm like, I can't say that,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I don't judge people of
Yeah.
how they carry their grief, because I know it's very hard to carry, but I can't say I loved
Exactly.
Jarrell. I love him present tense,
Yeah.
so I can't say
Yes.
today. If I will ever use past tense when I speak about my son, but I hope I don't.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
It's an
No.
unbearable thing, and none of us bereaved moms and dads would ever wish it on anybody ever, 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 ever. It's the most the closest description I can give you is that, it's like watching somebody rip your heart out and set it on fire in front of you.
Yeah.
That's what it's like. And then that's just a fraction of it. It's yeah.
Yeah, we had to come together as a family, like when my sister
Yes, I'm
passed
so
away,
sorry.
whether to tell my mom or not. And we, in the end, decided not to tell her. She never
Mm,
knew that she passed,
yes.
for the next 8 years that she lived. We just didn't
Yes.
feel that it was worth it. Because, we were all in the US anyway. She was in Africa. It's like, why break her
Right.
heart even more? So I suspect she probably knew. It's like, oh, where is she? No, yeah,
Yes.
she's fine. It was always like it wasn't like we were calling every week. So I think she probably knew, but we didn't
Right.
tell her.
That's right.
So I don't know. I think you have to all make the decisions based on what you think is right at that
Mhm.
point. And we thought, as her children, she should know.
Yes.
But like, you should have to like answer only to yourself as
Mhm.
far as, are you ready to write about it? You're just now ready to
Mm.
talk about it.
Yes.
You're just, but you have to keep thinking of the good that he did. I mean, saving
Mm.
5 people's lives,
Yes.
really. I mean,
Some days that
what?
that idea brings me so much peace, like untold peace. Some days
Yeah,
I'm able to say,
yeah.
"Wow, this he's made ripple effects." And the woman whose father got his kidneys, she wrote me a letter, and it was a man from Russia, and she it
Mhm.
was a beautiful letter that she wrote me. And we've not met her, but I haven't heard from the other three, but even just that alone, just she just thanked us, and she said, thank you
Yeah,
for giving my dad more life to see his grandchildren, and it does bring me peace. But on the days that it doesn't, it's because I miss my son. Like, to not have
yes,
him
yeah,
here on earth is just like when I go to get my phone and I can't text him, or worse things happen, like some like funny thing will happen, or like a joke that I see and I'm like, oh, I got to send this to Jarrell.
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
right. Like, so things like
yeah,
that. And then the triggers, they come from anywhere. Like, I'll be fine, like I'll be
yes,
fine, I'll be living my life and doing my thing, teaching and whatnot, and I'll go to a grocery store and I'll see, like, if I see like a Capri Sun or something, I
hmm
lose it.
hmm
I lose it in this grocery store, because Capri Sun, this is what I gave my son when he was in, grade 5, grade 4, for his lunches.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
anything can happen at
yeah,
any time. But the one thing I'm learning from losing my son is that, um, whatever empathy or compassion I had before has, quadrupled. And this is how I walk in the world now. I just think of people
yes,
more. I put myself in their place more. I
yeah,
just make it more of a kinder existence, because of what
yeah,
I know. And what I know is that if
yeah,
if 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 you are breathing and living and you actually have a broken heart, it's a miracle. That's what I think.
yeah,
And so, because I
yes,
have this gift of
yeah,
life now, and and I didn't get this gift until I lost my son. And that's the tragedy of it, is
yeah,
that I
yeah,
know it now
yeah.
because he's not here.
It always takes a
Hmm.
tragedy to make you realize things. Yeah,
That's
it's really
true.
true. Well, I'm so glad
Thank
you
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 for
shared
letting
that
me
with
talk
us,
about
Renee.
him.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
I'm just very proud of him.
No,
I'm just
it's
very proud
great.
of him. Yeah,
Yes, you should
but
be.
thank you.
You should be. It's a big accomplishment, saving 5 lives.
Thank you.
And and the good thing is you have
I
two other
do. Yeah.
sons that bring you joy.
I'm very
So
blessed.
and the faith, yeah, and the faith keeps you going, which is
Yeah.
great. So I'm really glad you
And I
shared
wanted
that
to
with us, and
say,
thank you so much.
to give you my condolences for your sister. And so now we're kindred spirits. We both lost a sister and a brother. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Now I gotta wrap up, because I
Sure.
know I told you it was gonna be about a
Oh
half an
no.
hour or so, but I really enjoyed this. I could not, it's been great. This is probably the longest
Oh, I'm
podcast I've ever
sorry.
done, and
Let me apologize.
I no, 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 don't be sorry. I absolutely love. No, but I always tell people, in whatever amount of time it takes us to tell the story, that's what we
Yeah.
aim for. I'm not going to stop it because, oh my God, I'm under
Oh,
this
yeah.
half hour thing, or, podcasts. I've heard of people doing podcasts that last
Oh,
10 hours.
geez.
So, but that's not going to be today. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I don't need to like grow. I'm a woman, but I don't need to grow a beard or hair on my legs just to like going through this podcast thing. So it's not going to
Oh, it's so
happen.
funny.
Let me bring it
Yes.
back to Dubai though and ask you
Yes.
one question. Like
Mm.
teaching in Dubai, does it allow you enough to save? Like, what would you say was the average cost of living
Well,
like in Dubai for you
and
and your son?
just to clarify, I teach in Sharjah. So, but it's like same. Sharjah, Dubai, they're 20 minutes from each other. But but my school is actually located in Sharjah, which is one of the other Emirates. But um, overall, in the whole
Oh,
UAE,
sorry.
the teacher salary is pretty high. It's pretty competitive, I would say,
Yeah.
especially in the Middle East, like even
Okay.
with Bahrain or Qatar or anything like that.
Hmm.
You're gonna get paid more, and you do have a really nice compensation package. Like you get your villa paid for, like your accommodations is paid for. You get your
Hmm.
flights home
Okay.
once a year. You have health insurance, and it's all. I can't speak for the other Middle Eastern countries, but for UAE, it's tax free. So
Okay.
there isn't a pension plan per se that I know of, but you're really supposed to be disciplined and save on your own, like save from your salary, because there isn't such a scheme in place. So you should be saving, but um, it is expensive, especially if you have the Dubai lifestyle, like hotels,
Hmm. Hmm.
luxury,
And lunch
things like
brunches
that.
and all
It's
that,
very
right?
easy to get caught up in the Dubai lifestyle because on the weekends they do things like
Yeah.
go on yachts and you know
Yeah.
just all sorts of things. It can be very expensive. You do have to be disciplined, but um, the salary is very very good if you're especially if you're single. I would say, yeah.
So it still allows you to be
Yeah, of
able to
course, you
save.
can save.
So it's not just
Yeah,
like,
you can
okay.
save, and
Okay.
and mostly, but what I save for, I'm not even gonna like, be a liar. Like I save for trips. So
That's me.
if I saved money, it was for trips. Like it was so I could go to the Maldives, or if
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I need to get to Austria or something like that. So if I saved any money, it was for trips
Yeah.
because I did want to travel, and I did want to gift my son those experiences because I can give him a phone or something like that, but those things will break and they will be phone was a bad example,
Yeah.
but anyway, but taking your family or your child to
Life
different countries
experiences.
is
Yeah.
worth every penny that you ever spend on it. But yeah, you can save, and you can like if you say you might have a car note or something like that, but really once your accommodation is paid for, really your salary is all your own. Do you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like in the States, if you
Yes.
get your salary, you'd be
Yes.
spending a quarter of it on your rent. But here you
Yeah.
yeah,
Copay, your rent, your
everything. You wouldn't do
everything,
that here though. So absolutely you can save, and you can have a very nice life. Um, as long as you just
Good.
don't, do a brunch every Friday of the month, then you'll be good to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Now, is it really competitive, like trying to find jobs there because of the
I
high
think
pay and
so. Yeah,
everything? Do you
I
find
know.
that
Hmm
it's
I
really
know that
hard now?
before, you could come over here with say maybe just a bachelor's or something, and in anything. But
Hmm.
now they've become really strict and more competitive, and so now your bachelor's has to actually be in education or in that field, like in secondary education or
Ah.
elementary education. You actually have to have that, and it was really funny because I had my master's when I came over, and then I asked my
Yeah.
HR person, "Do you need a copy of my certificate or whatever?" She's like, "No, we just need your bachelor's."
Hmm.
And I was like, "But I have my,"
Ah.
she was like,
I have my bachelor's. Like,
yeah, and
we only care
she
about
didn't care
that.
about that at all. Like literally, it was just this funniest thing to me, and I was like, okay. So she just wanted the bachelor's, but it
Wow.
has to be in a field in education. If they're super strict about that, and then you do have to have all your documents attested and whatnot, which is getting the stamps from whatever country you're in and everything. So there's a bit of a process to get your paperwork in, but once you're in the door, you're in. So once you
Oh,
get
that's good
that
to know.
hard part done of turning in your CV and doing the interview and whatnot, interviews probably, then you turn all your documents in. That's the hard part. Then you're in the door, and then yeah.
Hmm. Now, do you know, like for people teaching, I'm not sure if there's a big field for people that teach just strictly English. Is that a thing there, or it's only like if you're teaching like a variety of
Oh,
classes, like
well, they
education?
need all the teachers. I mean, we need, COVID certainly just, rocked everything and just turned everything on its head.
Of
But,
course.
we need teachers for art, teachers for music, teachers for science, teachers for,
Gotcha. Okay.
and then there's secondary school. So if you have a specialty in that, like say history or something like that, or biology, like something,
Hmm.
content based. But then of course,
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
English teachers. So I'm a primary teacher. So I teach English, but I also teach all the other subjects as well. You know, um,
Gotcha.
just like it's pretty much like in the States. If you have a class, then
Yeah.
you're teaching, mathematics, you're teaching social studies. It's like that. So, hmm.
Got it. Okay. Wow. Now it just sounds like a wonderful, because I know there's always everybody's like Dubai is where I
Yeah,
want to go. So it's nice to have somebody on the ground who can tell us a little bit about it, which is
yeah,
fantastic. And so
yes,
let me ask you one thing, Renee, to wrap
sure,
up this
sure.
whole thing. What would be your advice for somebody who is looking to get out of the USA or whatever, or somebody who wants to come to Dubai from a
Hmm.
different country? What would be your advice? Go straight to Dubai or go
Well,
anywhere that you
go
think
anywhere. I
is,
mean, Dubai probably has the best salary. I mean, I haven't, looked at salaries across for other places lately, but it is pretty competitive over here. They do want the teachers. So, but honestly, go anywhere. Do it. Go anywhere. Just leave America. Pack your bags, get your
yes.
passport, go to the airport and leave and just, jump out into the unknown and embrace whatever's going to be there. And no matter where you are, there's going to be things that are hard to take or hard to understand or whatever, but you will get through that that teething stage, and you will, find
Yes.
and here's the great thing about anywhere you go overseas, you will have other people who have left their countries as well. And then you become this circle of support for each other. And when you have that, you
Yeah.
have all you need. Your friends become your family, and you have your
Yeah.
family there that you can speak to on Skype or Zoom or whatever you do. But then you have the people on the ground who are there for you. And because we're all in the same boat, we all connect together and you know have dinner together and go places together and do things, and they support you. So you won't be alone. That's the thing. You're not going into some you know dark cave where you'll be alone.
Exactly. You're not like,
Other people have
you're not like the person going to the Arctic
Exactly,
for the
exactly.
first
You'll
time,
have
right?
people who will help you, and that's what it's like. I mean, I remember the first day I was in Kirk, literally first day at my school, this lady came up to me. I've known her for 2 seconds of my life, and she's like, "Come to our house for dinner tonight." And that's how it is. And
Yeah.
in the States, you would be like, "I
Yeah.
don't even know you. We have to get to know each other. We should
Exactly.
get to know each other by chatting first or whatever, like in conversation."
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
not how it is
Yeah.
overseas. And she said, "We'll send the driver and you'll come to our house for dinner." And I was just like, "Wow." And we just did it, and that's just a new way of life. But to answer the question, uh, just do it. Just pack your bags, put
Yeah.
the fear in one of those bags and take it with you, and then drop it off somewhere else,
Yeah.
because it's unnecessary.
Yeah.
You just um wherever you go and whatever new path you embark on, it's going to be fine. You're going to have
Hmm.
people, you're going to have support, and what you don't know, you ask questions about until you do know. That's it. It'll be like one of the best things
Excellent.
you ever do. And even if you only do it, like I've met teachers who've come here just for 1 year or 2 years, and then they go back to Australia or they go back to wherever they came from. But it's that experience, and at least you have it in your pocket, and you
Yeah.
know it, and you can speak on it. So
Exactly.
definitely,
Excellent
yeah,
advice.
definitely.
Thank
Thank you
you so
so
much, Renee.
much.
This has been so
I
much
know.
fun. And, I will have like, I don't know if you want to give out your email,
Sure.
I will have that on the show notes if anybody
Oh,
wants to get
thank
in
you.
touch with you or find out about how, what company you use to get
Absolutely. Yeah.
going. and it's been wonderful. So
No,
thank you
thank
so
you
much
so
for
much,
sharing
and
your story
let
today. It's
me
been
just
great.
apologize for talking your ear off. That's my personality.
Oh God, no, 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 no. It was great. To anybody listening
Yeah.
to this podcast, I'm sure you enjoyed it as much as as I did. And it was wonderful,
It was
so
wonderful to
thank
meet
you
you as
very
well
much.
too, and if I'm ever in Madrid, I or no, where is it? Valencia, I
Valencia.
will look you up.
Yes. Look me up.
Thank you
Good.
so much.
I'll be
What a
here.
lovely
Thank
day.
you.
Okay.
Thanks for listening, everyone. And we'll talk to you on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.